What's up, guys? We're back for this Saturday NCAA basketball slate for March 19th. Yesterday did not go exactly as planned, but we still went 4-3 overall on the day. That's a profitable day. We'll take that. Illinois winning by only 3. That one stung. UNC winning by 7 when we had a minus 7.5. That one really sucked. And I don't know what the hell happened to Arizona. They completely melted down after building a big halftime lead. Those were our losses. Our wins were Mississippi State plus 10, South Florida minus 6.5, UAB minus 4.5, and Houston minus 8. That's a winning day. Hopefully we can do better in this one. Let's get after it. Smash the thumbs up button if you want to see our picks every day and subscribe to the channel. Almost 80% of the people who watch these videos aren't subscribed. Those are rookie numbers, guys. These picks are sponsored by StumpThisBread.com. Click the link in the description to go over there and join our free email list and check out our top confidence plays on all the major sports. Comment below with your bets today and anything else you want to say about these picks, these videos, or anything you see here. I respond to every single comment and I'll give you my best advice on your picks to help us all cash some bets. Now let's dive into our first game of the day, Mississippi State versus number 12 Auburn. Mississippi State pulled off the big time upset for us. They took down number 5 Tennessee pretty handily, kind of ended up being a blowout win. We did not expect that to be a blowout win, but we'll definitely take it when we were on Mississippi State plus 10. The Bulldogs played one of their best games of the season. They got to the free throw line. It seemed like they had a little bit of the edge on the officiating end of things, but just in general, they shot the ball pretty well. They went 4 of 13 from 3. This is not a team that's going to shoot a ton of threes. It did not bother them in this game, though. Did not come back to bite them. They were very efficient from the field in general. They managed to get that blowout win despite not winning the battle of the boards, so that's something we're definitely going to be monitoring looking at this game. Hubbard and Matthews really played well. The bench did not put up that many points, but everybody played pretty good defense. That's really what you need to see in this matchup. Coming off such a big win, though, they're really going to have to buckle down to keep from having a letdown performance going up against a very, very strong opponent in Auburn. The Tigers come into this game fresh off an absolute demolition of South Carolina. They won that game by 31 points. Pretty crazy. That is a huge blowout. Auburn has kind of quietly been one of the best offensive teams in the nation. Johnny Broome is an absolute monster. He just put up 31 points in the win. This squad is focused. They're out here to try and win this conference tournament. They rebound the ball pretty well to go along with that amazing offensive production. Their assist numbers are great. They really move the ball well. Their defense is very, very good. This is a team that is tough up and down the roster. They've had some less than stellar performances. They kind of fell apart at Tennessee a few weeks ago. They did have a very bad performance at Florida, but this isn't something they're going to have to worry about in this one. They're playing on a neutral court against a team they know they can beat. Auburn won by 15 points in this matchup back on March 2nd, so it wasn't too long ago. Auburn is 20-12 against the spread overall this season. Give me Auburn minus 7.5. I think we see a little bit of a letdown here from Mississippi State, and Auburn take care of business. Next up, we're headed to the American Conference. We've got South Florida taking on UAB. UAB comes into this game fresh off of a blowout win over Wichita State. Well done by the Blazers. They played great in that game, came away with a comfortable win. They've now reeled off 3 straight with a win over Temple, a close win over SMU, and then that comfortable win over Wichita State. UAB has been a hard team to figure out all season long. They play up or down to their competition almost on a every night basis. Things have turned around since they blew that huge lead against Memphis. The Blazers are a team we really don't super trust. They definitely have played to the level of their competition. There's no other real way to say that. They just are a team that's going to sink or rise to the level of the teams they're going against. Sure, that changed a little bit since that blowout loss against Memphis where they blew that huge halftime lead, but can we really trust that that's completely in the rearview mirror? Now they have to take on a very, very strong opponent. South Florida was comfortably the best team in the American Conference during the regular season. They blew out ECU their last time out, so now they advance to this game against a team they're going to be looking for some revenge against. South Florida had a very rare loss. They lost at UAB 75-71, but that was very early in the season. We're not really worried about that. South Florida went 27-3 against the spread overall this season, so they're a very good team against the number. Their defense is very good. Their rebounding is solid. They're just a solid team across the board. They have a very good leading scorer in Chris Youngblood. Selton Miguel is a very efficient scorer, and he's putting up almost 15 points per game. This team is just very good up and down the roster. We see UAB is getting 3.5 points in this one. I don't think that's going to be enough, guys. Give me South Florida minus 3.5 in this one. I think they find a way to get this win and move on. It's been a good story for UAB, but I think that story comes to an end today. Next up, we're headed to the SEC. We're looking at Texas A&M against Florida. Texas A&M comes into this game fresh off of a solid 10-point win over Kentucky. They polished off Ole Miss, then number 9 Kentucky. They've been playing great. Wade Taylor IV is an absolute monster. In the win over Kentucky, we saw him go bonkers. He went off for 32 points. We also saw Radford score 23 3 points. 4 Texas A&M starters scored in double figures in this game. Very impressive numbers. This team dominated on the boards. They got to the free throw line. They knocked down their 3-point shots. This was really just a great game from Texas A&M, who's been coming on very strong here as of late. They've closed out the season well. They've won 5 straight games now. They are really firing on all cylinders. They're an elite rebounding team, an elite defensive team, and now they get to take on the Florida Gators. Florida dominated a matchup they've had success in pretty much all season long. They took down number 19 Alabama in a very high-scoring game, but that game didn't finish until pretty late in the day. That could be a concern as fatigue might tend to set in. This Florida team puts up a lot of points. Their defense can be a little bit suspect though. Their rebounding is very good. Their ball movement on offense gives me a little bit of concern. Walter Clayton Jr. is a monster. He's putting up 17 points per game. Against Alabama, we saw him score 23. The Gators bench looked pretty good in that game, but will they look good against a much better opponent? It's going to be tough, but I think we like Texas A&M plus 2.5 in this one. The older and tougher team, I think they could actually dominate the boards in this one, even though we do see that Florida is a good rebounding team. I just don't like the Gators in this matchup. Give me Texas A&M plus 2.5 in this one. Next up, we're looking at Nebraska going up against number 13 Illinois. Nebraska comes into this game fresh off of a solid blowout win over the Indiana Hoosiers. Nebraska has been a very exciting team this year. They've gone 21-11 against the spread overall, so great numbers against the spread. This team is exciting. They're putting up plenty of points. They like to shoot the ball from deep. They rebound. They play some defense. And while they did play really well against the Hoosiers, this is going to be a whole different beast going up against Illinois. The Fighting Illini come into this game fresh off back-to-back wins. They took down Ohio State. They got scared. I think Illinois really thought they had a chance to lose that game, and they definitely did, only winning by 3 down the stretch. They also had their chances to put things away. So they didn't exactly play up to the level that we're accustomed to seeing from them. Terrence Shannon Jr. scored 28 points, but he did not shoot the ball well from the field at all. He went only 8 for 20 from the field in general and 2 of 7 from 3-point range. Illinois actually shot the ball terribly from deep. They went only 4 of 15 from deep. That is not what we expect from this team on a normal basis. They did win the Battle of the Boards. I think they will convincingly win the Battle of the Boards in this one. Illinois is 16-13-3 against the spread themselves this season, so they're not a bad team against the spread. They're going to have the best at least 1, but maybe 2 players on the court in this matchup. Give me Illinois -4. I think they find a way to get the job done in comfortable fashion. Next up, we're going to look at Temple going up against Florida Atlantic. It's the battle of the Owls. We've got the Temple Owls and the Florida Atlantic Owls. Temple comes into this game playing some of their best ball of the season. They've won 4 in a row. They just took down Charlotte by 4 points. Before that, they dominated SMU. This team has really turned a pretty crazy corner. In their low-scoring win over Charlotte, they played some great defense. We saw 3 of their starters scoring double figures. We saw their bench come up with 16 very big points. They shot the ball terribly from the free throw line, so if they can improve on that a little bit, this could have been kind of a blowout win. Settle III led them in scoring. We expect him to have another big game in a much less defensive-oriented showdown. All season long, Temple's been a team that's just felt a little bit better than their record, and they're going to get a chance to show it today against Florida Atlantic. The Owls have been struggling all season long with consistency. They've just been up and down and all over the place. Their defense doesn't show up some days. They play up or down to their level of competition quite a bit. They come into this game fresh off of a 6-point win over UNT. John L. Davis had 29 points in that game, and Florida Atlantic just marched to the free throw line time and time again. If they hadn't gotten those 34 free throw attempts, they might not have been able to pull out this win. They were close to even on the boards, which is not something you would have wanted going against North Texas if you had FAU. We see FAU is giving 12.5 points. Guys, we're taking Temple in this one. Temple has not been bad against the spread. They're capable of keeping things close in this matchup, and they're playing their best ball of the season. Give me Temple +12. Maybe you could sprinkle the money line. Temple's plus like 450 though on the money line, so give me Temple +12 for sure. I won't be on the money line myself, but I won't blame you if you sprinkle it in there a little bit. Next up, we're looking at one of the biggest marquee games of the day. We've got number 7 Iowa State going against number 1 Houston. Iowa State comes into this game fresh off of a very comfortable win over Baylor. They've been cruising so far. The Cyclones are looking absolutely elite. Their defense is just off the charts good. Their offense is very good. Their rebounding looks like it could use some work. They did lose the Battle of the Boards against Baylor pretty convincingly, but they made all their free throws. They they shot 50% from 3-point range. We saw Gilbert go off for 20 points. We saw their bench score 23 points. Who has two guys coming off the bench like Ward and Jones that can really just score like that? Not very many teams have that kind of luxury in college basketball. Iowa State is going to be a tough out for anyone, and they are going up against the best team in the country. Houston absolutely demolished Texas Tech, as we predicted. That one felt pretty good. The Cougars have just been playing crazy good. Their defense is even more off the charts than Iowa State's is. They're very good on the boards. They're a solid offensive team. Earlier this season, they played a tough game against Iowa State where they won in Houston 73-65. Early in the season, they actually lost at Iowa State 57-53. So I am expecting a relatively low scoring game. We see Iowa State is getting 5.5 points in this one, and Iowa State is an insanely good 22-10-1 against the spread overall this season. And on top of all of that, we see that this game is being played in Kansas City, Missouri, which is borderline home court advantage territory for Iowa State. Give me the Cyclones and the points in this one. I think it will be extremely close and hard fought, but I think Iowa State, you could even sprinkle that money line in this one if you wanted to. I think this is going to be a one possession game that could go either way. Give me the 5.5 points. Next up, we're looking at New Mexico going against San Diego State out in the Mountain West Conference. New Mexico comes into this game fresh off of a 13-point win over Colorado State. They've now beaten Air Force, Boise State, and Colorado State to get to this point in their conference tournament. The Lobos are an elite offensive team. Their rebounding is very good. They play some solid defense against Colorado State. We saw the Lobos get the win despite losing the battle of the boards. They did shoot almost 40% from 3-point range, but 5 of 13 isn't exactly volume shooting. They definitely got the benefit of the whistle. Colorado State couldn't really throw it in the ocean in that game, which a lot of the credit does go to the Lobos' solid defense, but they're going to be taking on a much worse matchup for them in this one, going against San Diego State. The Aztecs come to this game fresh off of a blowout win over number 18 Utah State. Before that, they beat UNLV in a close one. The Aztecs are an elite team, and they are somehow an absolutely terrible matchup for New Mexico. Jadion Ledee is a monster, scoring 20 points per game, shooting almost 56% from the field. This team crashes the boards. They play great defense. Their offensive production is very, very solid. They don't have the gaudy against the spread numbers that we see New Mexico have, but San Diego State dominates this matchup. They won by 11 only a couple weeks ago, and this is a very fast turnaround for New Mexico, so they could be a little bit more tired than San Diego State. Give them the Aztecs -1.5 in this one. Last but not least, we're looking at UTEP taking on Western Kentucky. We're out in the Conference USA for this one. UTEP comes in this game fresh off a win over Sam Houston. That's pretty solid when you're taking down the best regular season team in the conference. The Miners have really come alive here in the back half of the season. They're not a very good rebounding team, though. Their defense could use a little bit of work. Obviously, they played pretty well against Sam Houston, but they only shot 4 of 14 from 3-point range. They're not that great at the free throw line. Their rebounding numbers are kind of middle of the road, and they're going to be going up against a very tough opponent in Western Kentucky, an opponent they lost to by 10 not too long ago. Western Kentucky comes into this game fresh off back-to-back blowout wins, taking down New Mexico State and then taking down Middle Tennessee. Both of those games were absolute blowouts. This team is playing great. They're putting up huge offensive numbers right now and kind of have all season long. They're scoring over 80 points per game. Their rebounding numbers are very good. Some of that can be attributed to their pace of play, but just in general, they have been monsters on the boards. Their defense maybe could use a little bit of work. It hasn't been elite, but it's been very good, and it's been very good recently. The last time these two teams met, Kentucky won by 10 points. Western Kentucky is 18-11 against the spread overall. We are going to take the Hilltoppers, the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, -3.5 in this one. That's all we have for today, guys. It is currently 3:05 a.m. I've got to edit this thing together. Hit that like button for good luck on all your bets today, and subscribe if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Thanks for watching. You can click the link in the description to check out StumpTheSpread.com, and we will see you guys tomorrow for more NCAA basketball action.